Tonight, troubling global ties following a massive money laundering bust. Authorities connecting Mexico's infamous Sinaloa drug cartel to an underground Chinese banking group in Southern California.
We have over $50 million in drug proceeds laundered through this investigation.
Following a multi-year effort by U.S. officials, the Department of Justice announcing charges against 24 people accused of being connected to the cartel.
The indictment that we announced today charges Mexican drug cartels and Chinese money laundering groups with partnering together to perpetuate a cycle of destruction in this country.
The investigation, dubbed Operation Fortune Runner, uncovered how 45-year-old Edgar Joel Martinez Reyes allegedly ran the sophisticated network. Suspects, some of them Chinese, collected bags of cash from cartel associates in the Los Angeles area. That cash was then deposited into a Chinese bank controlled by a money laundering broker. Investigators say the broker then used that money to purchase goods in China, including precursor chemicals used to make both meth and fentanyl. Chinese associates would then send those purchased goods to Mexico, where they were sold or chemicals further processed into drugs. The cash from both eventually ended up in the hands of the cartel to pay for smuggling drugs to the United States. Martinez Reyes' attorneys did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Federal authorities credit China with cooperating with the investigation to make arrests, but Chinese officials still question the extent of their country's involvement. The fentanyl problem is rooted in the U.S. itself, officials say. The U.S. fentanyl crisis started from overprescription and developed due to many complicated factors.
Search warrant, open the door!
This is not the first time we are seeing ties between China and cartels.
The Chinese criminal organizations have such a desire for U.S. dollars in cash that they're getting into a variety of criminal enterprises to create that cash.
A U.S. Treasury official told our own Jacob Soboroff that Chinese criminal organizations then launder money from cartel meth, fentanyl, and other drugs through cash loans, sometimes given to unsuspecting Chinese nationals.
By working together, they've been able to get millions, if not billions of dollars out of China into the United States, and they've been able to use a synthetic drug trade to do it.
A transcontinental web of crime now coming into focus, but far from being solved.
And Morgan joins us now from Los Angeles. Morgan, you mentioned authorities have charged 24 individuals in all. Do we have any idea if they are in custody tonight?
Yeah, Allison, it appears authorities are not wasting any time here whatsoever. Of those 24 that were indicted, we know that 22 are already in custody. One of them was brought into custody in China back in May. Another tracked down in Mexico just last week.
Federal prosecutors in Southern California have announced a historic bust, charging 24 suspects in connection with an alleged money laundering scheme between Mexico's Sinaloa drug cartel and Chinese brokers, while seizing millions of dollars in drugs, including 300 pounds of cocaine.
We're here today to announce criminal charges against a partnership between a cartel in Mexico and a money laundering organization based with Chinese nationals.
Prosecutors claim the cartel has been using Chinese money laundering to hide more than $50 million, alleging they converted proceeds from the sale of illegal drugs in the U.S. into Chinese currency. The cartel allegedly then used the Chinese currency to import goods from China back to Mexico. Among those goods, precursor chemicals to make more drugs, including fentanyl and meth.
Millions and millions of dollars are moved in proceeds from the drug sales in the United States back down to Mexico. And wealthy Chinese nationals in this country are given access to virtually limitless supplies of cash.
These charges come as Chinese migrants face more scrutiny. Ecuador has now suspended visa-free travel for Chinese citizens, blaming a worrying increase in migratory flows from China. Officials say the South American country has become a key transit point for thousands of Chinese migrants headed to the U.S. southern border.
And back to those drug and money laundering arrests, U.S. officials say law enforcement in both Mexico and China helped arrest some of the suspects who had fled.
2 dozen suspected LA-based associates of a Mexican drug cartel are facing federal money laundering charges. Authorities say the 24 defendants schemed to hide the source of more than $50 million in drug proceeds. They were busted as a result of a multi-year investigation called Operation Fortune Runner. The suspects are accused of working for the Sinaloa Cartel. Investigators say the cartel laundered money with the help of a San Gabriel Valley-based money transmitting group with ties to Chinese underground banking.
The cartels are desperate to get cash made from the sale of drugs in the United States back down to Mexico. The Chinese money laundering groups are in the business of helping wealthy Chinese nationals obtain cash in this country, thereby circumvent export controls in China on the movement of cash.
Now, most of the defendants are expected to be arraigned in a federal court in downtown LA in the coming weeks.
We're back now with our investigation into human trafficking in the illicit marijuana industry. Before tonight, it was hard to tell who is responsible. Now, Jacob Soboroff reports that a sophisticated international money laundering partnership may be to blame, with deadly consequences. It's the latest report in our series, Captives of Cannabis.
It's early in the morning in Riverside County, California. These sheriff's deputies are about to execute a dozen search warrants on residential homes. They say they're going to find illegal marijuana grows there and victims of human trafficking working on those grows. But first, they're going to go after the leader of the operation. Is this person a mid-level operator, kingpin, mastermind?
I would say this is a mid-level operator. We believe that the people that are ultimately in control are likely in China.
Search warrant, open the door!
All right. Nice and easy.
I got him.
What did you guys find in there?
We found several documents that ultimately link these suspects living in this home to several of the other locations that we've been investigating.
The couple's arrested, and deputies focus on the organized crime ring they say this grow appears to be a part of.
We don't know how large this organization is, but we do believe that it is global to some extent.
If it is so big, how come you guys are out here alone? Where's the federal government? Where's the DEA?
That's a great question.
To push for answers, we met Bill Bodner, DEA's special agent in charge of Los Angeles, for an exclusive interview.
In our reporting, we've seen Chinese nationals involved in the illicit cannabis trade. The law enforcement that we've been talking to says that they believe that the bosses of those operations are back in China. How is that connected to what you're seeing?
The Chinese criminal organizations have such a desire for U.S. dollars in cash that they're getting into a variety of criminal enterprises to create that cash. And I'm not surprised to hear that them running cannabis grows, it's generating cash that they're then using to accomplish capital flight out of China.
In other words, the DEA says this form of organized crime is one that extends far beyond black market cannabis and is rooted in a desire for Chinese nationals in the U.S. to get their money out of China due to recent restrictions in how much they can take out of the country. A U.S. Treasury official tells NBC News that Chinese criminal organizations are operating in the U.S. and now working with Mexican cartels by helping them launder money made from meth, fentanyl, and other drugs. They do so by loaning out the cartel's dollars to unsuspecting Chinese people living in America. These criminal organizations are then repaid in Chinese currency back in China, and the money launderers buy Chinese products and have them shipped to Mexico, where they're sold and give that money in pesos back to the cartels. In the end, no money actually crosses international borders, and the Treasury Department says the dirty dollars are, quote, disappearing into thin air. The DEA says instead of products like the clothes and appliances that were once widely available here in LA's wholesale district, the products money launderers are sending from China to Mexico are deadly.
Guess which product is very available in China that's not available here at all? Precursor chemicals. It was the synthetic drug explosion in 2015 and 2016 when this capital flight model started. Precursor chemicals were used as a way to transfer wealth.
Whoa. In Mexico, the precursors are made into meth and fentanyl, synthetic drugs that have caused U.S. overdose deaths to more than double since 2015.
Hey, Sinaloa Cartel, let me introduce you to Chinese organized crime. That's what happened. And by working together, they've been able to get millions, if not billions of dollars out of China into the United States, and they've been able to use a synthetic drug trade to do it.
For you in the DEA, how do you go after stopping this from happening?
Our focus is 100% Sinaloa Cartel, Jalisco New Generation Cartel, and it's because of this synthetic drug trade. It's like nothing we've seen before.
Until then, Mexican cartels and Chinese organized crime continue to use the United States as their middleman, with no end in sight. Jacob Soboroff, NBC News.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Episode of Greenlit Gang TV. It's getting real out here, y'all. We got the Chinese nationals, Sinaloa Cartel, LA-based gangs. I had to bring this story to you guys. It's hot. It's only a couple weeks old, and it's crazy. It is crazy. You saw in the news stories about the lengths and the depths of which these guys are very smart, of which the Sinaloa Cartel, East LA gang members were willing to go to hide drug proceeds. And the willingness of Chinese, kind of underground bankers were willing to help. How they're bringing bags of cash to these guys who are turning around, putting it into like cryptocurrency, putting it back basically into China's underground economy by buying ingredients to make methamphetamine or fentanyl. And holy crap. When I saw this story, I had to watch the same news stories 3 or 4 times. And it just blows my mind. This Martinez Reyes character, 45 years old, man, you are booked. You are booked. When you start using words like fentanyl and Chinese nationals, you are going to piss off a lot of government people. You're going to piss off... You're wrapped up in like 3 of the... Right now, we are not on good terms with China. We hate drug cartels. It's all political, right? We hate it because we have to hate it. We hate China because we have to hate China. Although I will say, China is scary because China is powerful, they have money, and they're smart. And you saw in that news story where they basically say, oh no, you're not going to blame us for your fentanyl crisis. It started with your overprescription, your overprescribing of pain medications, and your big pharmaceutical companies, homegrown there in the United States, do not bring it on us, which to some degree is true. But I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I also do believe 100% that China's not shedding any tears about our fentanyl crisis. And I do believe China has no problem sending ingredients or sending fentanyl straight to the cartels. And this particular cartel is the Sinaloa Cartel, which is obviously made famous by El-Chapo Guzman, whose sons are now running it. El-Chapo Guzman is in ADX, Florence, Colorado, and probably a clean version of hell is what they call it. But anyway, his cartel is probably worth more now than ever. And I just was taken aback. The 10-count superseding indictment, 24 defendants, high-ranking cartel members, high-ranking East LA gang members, because these gangs are controlled by the cartel. A lot of these guys in the East LA gangs, they're cartel members themselves, and if they're not, they're being controlled by the cartel. Is calling the shots, right? They're the big dogs. They're the ones you don't want to hear them knock on your front door if you've pissed somebody off because your life's going to be over. But the brains, the Chinese bankers, these underground Chinese banking, it's just so interesting. It's fascinating to me. And it's just like you see on that one picture where you've got the drug cartel members, and then the other side you've got the Chinese nationals. And it's like, man, there is a lot of stuff like this that's going on. And if you think the war on drugs is working, you are, for lack of a better word, misinformed. The war on drugs is not working. The war on drugs has never worked. It's all political. It's all political BS. And these gangs, these cartels, they're stronger now than ever. And I hate this political BS that you see of we're going to go in and we're going to wipe it out and we're going to do this and you're not going to do nothing. And I don't know if you guys saw the presidential debate the other night. Joe Biden, he's got dementia. He looks like he doesn't know where he's at, or he just went to the bathroom in his pants. I think Joe Biden probably wears a diaper. Donald Trump is more concerned about his golf handicap and making sure that we all know that he's a better golfer than Joe Biden. And they say some of the right things, and they say this and that and this and that. I don't want to get too political. In my opinion, though, Joe Biden, you've got dementia. When the camera would pan out and his mouth was dropped open and he looked like he was staring into space, I'm going, oh my God. Another 4 years of that? Even how much you dislike Trump, you cannot tell me that that's a better choice. There's no way you're going to tell me that's a better choice. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you're not going to, neither one of them is going to stop the flow of drugs. And now when you've got China involved, and I'm not saying the cartels aren't brains as well. They are. They're smart. These gang members are smart. But the China effect, bringing in these underground bankers, when this money's getting moved, these gang members, because that's the thing, these cartels and these gangs are making so much money, they don't even know what to do with it. And that's an actual problem. You can't go buy things. You can't just walk in and go buy a Ferrari. You can't just walk in and go buy this. You can't just walk in and go buy 5 homes. The money's got to be cleaned. It's got to be moved through things. They're buying cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is still kind of the Wild West. It's somewhat regulated, but not that much. So this indictment's only a few weeks old. I think it got unsealed in April. 20 of the defendants are expected to be arraigned within the next couple weeks. But, man, what a crazy story. It's like you can just, to me, it's funny because I picture, these gang members, these cartel members meeting with these Chinese nationals, and I can just picture, like, where do you meet up? Where do you, think about it really for a second, where do you put the money, right? You pop open the trunk of a car. Here's $2 million. Here's $5 million. Get this clean for me. Thank you. The language barrier, I'm sure. You've got to have people that are translating. It's something out of a movie, but it's real. And I'm like, of course it's happening in California, right? Of course it's happening in California. It's like, it's just, to me, this is fascinating. And to me, this is why I have this channel. But I will leave you with this. If you think that China is not playing a hand in any of this, you're mistaken. They have no problem funneling fentanyl in the United States because it does weaken us. It does distract us. And I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but I do believe in China wanting to become a bigger power than we are. I do believe that these cartels are constantly trying to stay one step ahead of law enforcement and doing whatever it takes to do that. Their brutality's never changed, but they have to continue to be smart. They got to continue to evolve. And this is what you're seeing. And I will say this. That is a deadly combo. That's what I'm going to leave you with. A deadly combo. The Sinaloa Cartel and other Mexican cartels and Chinese underground bankers and nationals that want to see America weaker and they want to line their own pockets. Fascinating story. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. In the comments down below, let me know what you think. And let me know what you think about that presidential debate we watched the other night. Thank you.